Okay, you guys, welcome to the Axios Fux podcast, episode 20.
I believe it's 20 or 21.
I think it's 20. So 20. So we just filmed one, but Christian allowed the government to get inside of his computer because he sold our last podcast for money, and the exchange was now they could take all of his information and slow down his computer from saying anything he wants to say. So
are you ready to get started?
Yeah, let's start. So your connection's good now. Your connection's good now. Dude, I actually looked at my hairline, and I think my lineup is crooked.
Oh my gosh.
I look like I gave myself look at it. Doesn't
I found my first 2 white hairs today, but I just you know what they say, once you get white hairs, that's the wisdom coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who lied to you?
No, it's a fact. Okay, so
we're gonna do
the
this
Axios Fux podcast. And now that Facility's done bullshitting, let's get down to the good stuff.
So number one, we're going to give them the heads up. So we are currently looking for a property in northeast.
Well, we aren't going to tell them
West
exactly.
Tampa. Yeah, we're currently looking
West Tampa, somewhere around
West
there.
Tampa. It's going to be the headquarters for this podcast. It's going to be where the magic's going to happen in terms of studio is going to be created and a lot more good stuff. So, but we'll get into the meat and potatoes.
Yeah, let's do it. So let's get started. I started last one with a joke, but I guess I'm not going to say that story.
No, dude. No one wants to hear your
stupid humor. Anyways, okay. So the podcast we wanted to talk about was the topic is iron sharpens iron. In the US, you need to have people who are quote unquote plugged in, and it may sound corny from like the Matrix, but the truth is that there is a fog and it's very clear. I mean, isn't there a new virus now?
Yeah, it's called good old monkeypox.
Yeah, anyways, so like anyone who actually believes this garbage is you probably just, I don't even know. Like, come on. Let's just get
unvalidating it to you. We're not validating you. Because the thing is, Christian, I've had a different viewpoint. It is no one's fault at this point maybe it is someone's fault, but like beginning.
At this point, there's been a new thing every week or something.
Yeah. So that's the problem.
Whatever happened to there's just a new one every year. It's just crazy. But anyways, so this fog, let's get into exactly what I'm talking about. So what you'll notice from the food that we eat, the people, the system, it's all flawed. Let's start with the food. In what day and age, like before the past maybe 10, 15 years, has there ever been a time where there's 12 different types of eggs that you can buy? Or, because for example,
with 50 cents.
What was that?
It started with 50 cent.
50 cent eggs?
50 cent. No, like 50 cent. He made a good point. He made his first, I think it was $1 billion company by the end of it, but he went to a store and he looked at all these different brands of waters. This is a great story. He looked at all these different brands of waters and he's like, why is water more expensive with this brand than it is the other brand?
Oh, he did. You're right.
So I think he has to do something with vitamin water, I think is what it's called, or Vita water or something. There's nothing different about the water besides the name brand and who backs it. That's all it is.
Yeah.
So you can go.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's very clear if somebody comes from like a foreign country, I think the first thing that they notice is how capitalistic and everything is based on profit here. So for example, a monopoly company is able to make make eggs because they have thousands of chickens and they stuff them in cages and they inject them with hormones and they squeeze out 5 eggs out of each chicken before they just slaughter them and put them on the road
every day. I think every
day.
I think, and then they sell the chickens
rack at Walmart.
And if you really think about it, like, I mean, before like the inflation problem, the major inflation problem, you could get a rotisserie, I think, for $2.13, I think it was. Wow. $2.13, an entire chicken for $2. That is like it just sounds awful. Like you can buy an entire animal dead and
at Walmart
and seasoned at like Stop and Shop. Like $2.13.
That's a great price. That is a great price.
But there's a reason why it's a great price. It's because they're producing at such a high level, like not naturally, that there's so many of them that they can sell them for pennies to the dollar.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's one side of it. And then you have and those are the eggs that are $1.50, right? And who knows how healthy those are because no one really, I mean, anyways, then
you realize it when you're 60 years old.
Yeah. And then you have the free range, cage free, organic, brown, large eggs that are $9 for 12 eggs. And then you have the $1.50 for 12 eggs. If you don't see that as an issue, when you crack open the eggs, one of them looks like a dull yellow and the other one looks like the orangest most thing that you could ever see. And you're like, wait, what's going on here? It's just like, if you're in South America or somewhere, first of all, you probably don't have access to this much options in food and stuff, but there's only one type of egg. There's an egg. There's no, and maybe in the more, this might not apply everywhere, but you guys get what I'm saying. In the past, there was never all these options, but because of, monopolies, companies that are able to make it for cheap and sell it for cheap and make a lot of money, it's made it so that people who work at Amazon or Stop and Shop and all these main jobs, they can afford things, but still they're destroying their health in the process. So it's like, what are you giving up to get? And in the US, you can be giving up your entire life for a minimum wage job, not be able to afford a house, not have a savings, eat crap food, and have, have a great weekend social life. And that's supposed to be your life. You're overweight, you don't make much income, you have friends that value, going to Coachella more than they value having a relationship with their family and getting married to somebody who has the same values as them. Like, this is the fog that we're talking about. And
that's what I mean, dude, when I say, like, honestly, there comes a point. So at one point, it's more like, I don't blame people because the fog is contagious, right? Because we say sharpening iron sharps iron, right? So if you're around people who believe these things over time, I mean, if you're raised in this type of thing, it's hard to get out of it.
Oh yeah,
very hard to get out of it. So
I can't imagine. Yeah.
So I can't even say, sometimes I'm like, okay, well, I understand, I do get it. Then there comes a point where it's like you see so much randomity and craziness coming about, and you do have to take responsibility for it and say, okay, this is wrong.
Yeah, I think people don't realize
responsibility versus perception.
Yeah, and I just don't think people realize how different it is in other places. And
you've been to Thailand. You've been Puerto Rico or Costa Rica?
I've been to. I went to a bunch of places in college. I don't remember exactly where. I think Puerto Rico was one of them. I've been to Greece. I've been to Thailand. I've been to Canada. Obviously, you don't really see much different things in Canada. I mean, I haven't been to many places, honestly, which is honestly kind of. I've been to China. It wasn't for long though. But you get to yeah, I actually was. Actually was.
And that was right when the pandemic started.
Exactly. So let's not talk about that. I'm just kidding. But yeah, so like the thing is that especially if you have generations upon generations of people that, or family that have lived in the US without anyone from, like, I think honestly, when in talking about this fog, I think you're at a disadvantage. And the reason being is because you don't have that great, those grandparents, or, those, cousins, for example, that maybe, came from a foreign country that's not a first world country. And with doing that, you don't have the level of, well, I think you have more of an awareness, but you don't have you haven't adapted as much as people who have lived here for generations upon generations. And that's why this whole podcast, I think, bringing light to those things is really important for me and Vasily, because we've been fortunate where, our dad's from Greece, and we have cousins here that are, their parents are from Greece. And we have also on our mom's side is American. So we've gotten
both.
We've gotten both. Yeah, exactly. So, but all you need is to be able to travel and see that there is a major, major difference in, how people live in those countries, those other countries that might not be first world. Because I believe that the farther away that you go from having to survive, the less, the more shallow things get, and the less, I guess, how you would say this, the important things actually matter. So, for example, in the poorest countries, they're usually happy. Very shockingly, they're usually very happy.
Yeah.
They usually have they're very close to family. They value their health. They value good food and healthy food. They value relationships a lot, and they take life as it comes, and it's a moment to moment experience. Here, it's more like beeping in traffic while on the phone, and texting while you drive, and going to buy those new Jordans.
My idea is, like, if you're only going to live, if your life's going to look like that, it would be better off live it somewhere else. In my opinion, because if that's how you're going to live, where it's like you're beeping, you're in a rush to a job that you hate, that doesn't pay you enough, and the money that you do make from it pays the bills and an apartment you hate as well, it sounds miserable. So if you're going to do those things, I think you'll probably better find it. I would think better find it somewhere else. I mean, I haven't been out of the country. I've only been to Greece a few times, and that's where I would go every time. But even over there, you find the village people are happy with what they have. They're living a simple life. They don't need much.
They don't need much. They value the food they eat. They have fun. They party. They and they're very happy people. So and it also includes in the US, men are becoming less like men, and women are becoming less like women. And it's something that if you do go to maybe another country, maybe it would be different, like that you notice. But you also don't have to leave to realize that that's a factor that's going on. I mean, it's almost like it's so gray nowadays to ask certain questions. I was joking with a guy, and he was like, I was getting my body mass index at the nutrition store, and he was like, oh, I asked him, I was like, dude, what's the, I was like, I'm 14.9% body fat. I was like, oh man, like at least I'm under 15%. Is that pretty good? He was like, well, yeah, the average male body fat percentage should be between 10 and 25% on average. And I was like, how do you know if I'm a guy? Just because that's a joke. It's a joke. Because
and he didn't laugh. He didn't laugh.
No, he thought it was hilarious. He was like, dude, that's crazy that you say that, because nowadays, like, you really can't bring that up. And
no, you can't make that joke.
And nowadays,
you can't make that joke.
Nowadays, it's almost like the fog has gotten so crazy to the fact that you can't assume
Can't even
somebody's
make a
gender,
joke.
their pronoun, their what they, everything's become so gray. There's no.
It's become yeah, exactly. It's great. There's no right and wrong anymore. Everything is up for debate.
Yeah.
Like calling your computer, like calling my computer an Apple computer might be offensive to someone.
Yeah.
Like, why isn't it a pear computer? Just because it has an apple shape, you mean why isn't it a pear? Like, it could offend someone. And I'm sure actually you could probably find someone of the 8 billion people, 7.5 billion people that actually would be offended. I am 100% positive. You could find it. So it's that's my whole thing, where it's like, why not just think black and white? But it's more complicated, I guess, than that. It's more complicated. I don't know.
So that
I don't know what
was
the right
kind
answer
of
is.
my main topic that I wanted to mention.
Your main topic. Well, that's where we should probably end it. I mean, the idea is iron sharpens iron. So get around people who are valuable, I guess you could say.
Yeah. If like, I think the sharpest that you can like get around is people that are seeing through the fog, and it's not easy. Like so said.
I think like for example, like the whole datum I've always lived by when it comes to sales is outflow equals inflow. Whenever I just focus on that simple datum, let's say even for the podcast and getting more listeners, it is just so simple. But then you listen to people and they give you all these complex steep gradients that you're like, okay, I need to add this and I need to do this. And if I don't do this, this is going to happen. Just do something simple. I find it to be very, very simple. The more people you talk to, the more potential deals you get out of. In the last week, I mean, honestly, I have a couple, like some people don't know, those people don't know, that's what I'm thinking of. But there's about 3 people that I'm inching every day closer and closer and closer, and they haven't realized it yet, to the point where I'm going to put myself in a position to be the representative in real estate. They don't know it yet because I'm not like saying, hey, let me do this, but it's going to come to the point where they're like, oh, why wouldn't I just use him? I just inch closer and closer and closer. And it's every person I talk to, I have that sort of intention, but it's not a direct intention. It's just a passive intention. So I just say, put yourself out there. If you're in sales for anything you really want, just put yourself out there. It's simple. That's all.
Perfect.
Okay, dude. Well, let's end this. This is episode 20. I think I'll get this uploaded. Any final thoughts, or no, you're good?
No, I appreciate every listener that takes a listen. Share it with somebody if you can. If you found this valuable, please share it. We appreciate it. We're trying to grow this podcast. It's very difficult to do, especially being shadow banned. If you guys don't know, I used to get probably over 1,000 sometimes people viewing my story. I get 1/10 of that now. So it's tough. It's very tough. I feel like I'm trying to, blast through, the fog.
Suppression.
I mean, sometimes it changes, and it's so sporadic. Some days it'll be like, oh wow, 500 people, looked at your story or whatever, and that's why we need all of you guys' help. If this was valuable to you, please share it. We're trying to, unplug people, not to sound corny, but it's the truth. Like, if this helped you or brought clarity to your life, then tune back in next week and, share this on your page. Our Axios Fux Instagram is now up, so we'll reshare your thing and we'll give you a shout out. Like, honestly, like, we're trying to build a community here.
We'll do anything. We're going to do anything to get this thing started. So, okay, dude. Well, I'm going to upload this episode 20. Thanks, guys, for listening. And we'll see you guys next week.
See you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.